avoid a lot of the mental health triggers, a lot of the mental health problems, or to let it have a negative effect on my life. During the military, PTSD, dealing with all that, I got my taste of how it can affect you, because when I came home, you have, those mental triggers or the PTSD. I didn't think it would affect me, but it does affect you. So going overseas, seeing that lifestyle, coming back home, and now you think you're in a different world. And I see how mental health is an issue that a lot of people need to talk to. And I thought I didn't need to talk to somebody until I sat down with a counselor and I seen the benefits. I had 3 sessions with her. She actually, just brought me back to the realization that, hey, you're not over there anymore. You're back home. I dealt with this with my with my miscarriage. I actually talked to T-Boy because T-Boy just went through it. So I said, hey, man, how do I deal with this? And he helped me. So when he brought this up, and we were in the sauna, he was like, look, I'm having a dispenser support group. So I backed it 100% just because I felt like there's things that people don't know. They don't understand how to start training their minds to think positive and be in a positive a state of mind to live a positive, stress-free life. There's actually ways that you actually train your mind to do it. And I'm not a master at it. I got no degrees. I got nothing. No. I got no degrees. I got nothing in it. But what I can show is, through my children and through my wife and the way I live, that you can look at me and say, okay, man, mental health probably doesn't affect him, or what did you do to get out of that state? So that's what I think I can bring to the group.
Yeah, my name is Alex Royce. I am a pastor. I've been pastoring for about 17, 18 years. And so went to undergrad for theology, grad school for divinity and psychology, and I'm now working on my doctorate. Mental health's been big for me because as a pastor, I come across a lot of people who have mental health challenges. As a pastor, so I encounter people when they come to see me. Usually, they got some crisis, they've got death, they've got the relationship is in chaos, their life is in a bad space or place, and I realized early on that I probably need to get some training to be able to help people in that place of life. And I'm glad I did because I've been able to get a front row seat to see a lot of people's lives transformed and changed as a result of having a little bit of information to help them through a crisis point. And so Rydell, good friend of mine, and he and his wife, good friends of mine, they've actually come to get some help with the loss of their children and just going through some stuff in their life themselves. And when he told me that he was trying to do something like this that broadens the conversation, because in the black community, mental health always has a negative stigma. We don't want to go see no shrink. We don't want to go talk to nobody about our problems. You're supposed to fix your problems. When in reality, there's a saying that people say time heals all wounds. It's not true. Time does not heal all wounds. If you break your leg and your bone is sticking out, time is not going to heal that. You don't need to see an orthopedic surgeon. They're going to need to put that bone back so it heals properly. And the same is true with your mental side. So something I believe in. Something I'm passionate about. Something I like to help people through. And so I'm here to share, here to offer some insight, here to learn myself as well.
My name is Pure from the south side of Chicago. Just moved here in July. And yes, sir. Yes, sir. And actually, I did come down here because Florida, it supports my lifestyle. You know what I mean, being plant-based and all of that. And we just wanted to be around some like-minded brothers. Start building that tribe. So that's one.
My name is Edward Giles. I try to live by a mission, and every day it's just pushing me and urging me to just live it out. I don't know how I came with it. It's almost I think God places stuff in our hearts. Or I saw Kanye the other day going to prison, and I saw people praying, and they had hope. I'm like, God is working through Kanye right now. Then I see my friends, everybody, I'm trying to do this for people, for the community. So there's a movement going on in the world, pretty much. And it's like God realized the turmoil that we're in, and there's a saving of the people. So my mission is to inspire, motivate, and uplift people to take a holistic approach to life by doing it myself. And I'm in my journey of learning exactly what that means. Every time I learn something, I'm like, there's more, there's more. So looking at the whole holistic individual, like I've had minor issues, you know what I mean? Like being homeless and going through certain financial setbacks as I started a business. And I went through some mental fog, mental issues, like being really anxious. So I decided that I had to learn things. I had to learn how to meditate. I had to learn these things. I had to learn how to take care of my mental health through personal development. And the more I learn about things, the more I can see. So more clarity. So my goal is to share that with people in the form of like my talk show that I host, through speaking, and through like writing. Like I feel like I also have a lot of books in me I want to get out. And this is another way to do that. So I'm grateful to be here.
My name is Raphael. 2 months in from Massachusetts. This is my second tour of Florida, and I like to say that suffering is the greatest motivator to get out of it. You know, the funny thing about being crazy is you're always the last one to find out. You know, so mental illness is something that I have had to face, and something I didn't really recognize upon my return after my first tour of Florida. And the reason I came to Florida is because I've been on a journey, and a journey of healing, you know, and engaging in the healing, yogic, and religious practices for evolution, because I feel that revolution is evolution. I felt that I needed to evolve to escape, in a sense, the system I was brought into. I felt that I've been domesticated like a farm animal for the last, 2,000 years, and my ancestors before me. And along this journey, I've come to the terminology of what we're suffering from as a people. That's close and perpetual slavery trauma, because it hasn't ended. Epigenetic trauma, it's in our genetics. Transgenerational trauma, from generation to generation. Ancestral trauma, of course, you know, coming from our ancestors. And of course, fear/trauma-based mind control. So along this journey, engaging and versing myself in meditation, Qigong, yoga, yang style, tai chi chuan, the healing and martial arts. I've done meditation retreats where we sit for 10 minutes in silence, work with the subconscious mind, how things come to the surface, transitions myself to being a breath-based being. Because I'm not made out of plants. I'm not made out of, I'm not vegan or vegetarian. I'm a spirit. I'm a breath. I'm a Ruach Kadesh, divine spirit breath, the one that keeps me alive. That's what sustains me. And it was on my Rastaman thing down here. I use this as a training ground before further going into the jungles of South America, possibly just towards the east. And to live as man once was and is, it's just free. It's the nature of the soul is freedom, liberation. And I realize that liberation starts within oneself. And this whole Babylon system people talk about is a mental construct, because it's us that uphold it. We're the peer supporting it, and little by little we keep, just feeding to it. And I felt that the closer to our nature we get, the less we require, the more God-like we become, which is our nature. Each one of us is a god, gods and goddesses. The year gods and goddesses. That's what it is. A lot of people don't know what that means, but it's our natural state, the one that has dominion or presides over a sphere of activity and aspect of reality. And every man, and woman control their mind, master their body, you master your reality. And so we've been living this, from generation to generation through social learning theory. And actually where first, that term, post and perpetual slavery trauma, is something I learned through Dr. Joyce DeGruy, who wrote the book, Post-Traumatic Slavery Syndrome. And I saw her speak live, and she helped me use that terminology to describe what I've been experiencing. Growing up in first of all, as a first-generation Afro-Caribbean, growing up in a competitive, violent, aggressive urban environment, and a very repressive home environment, so the pressures of that. Growing up finding the people I look at, looking at the animals, and look at the natural creatures in their natural state, not experiencing mental illness. You ain't never seen no strung out deer. You ain't never seen no giraffe with mental illness. they're in their natural state, eating their natural foods, they ain't got no problems. They're living in a symbiotic coexistence with everything else. That is my natural state. My ancestors and I have been in an unnatural state. So I'd say everything comes to balance in time rather than on time. And this is the time in which we're having discussions like this around the world. So I've been kind of on that journey and mission, and this is my second time around. And I'm just appreciate that brothers like this are gathering. So we have a venue to speak at on these matters, because it is something that's shunned. It's a stigma. Even in the Caribbean, it's a stigma. You ain't got no problems. You just deal with it. Why? Because at that time, you weren't allowed to express yourself. You weren't allowed to speak out. The strongest of us were taken by horse and dismembered in front of the tribe. So you just deal with it. And a lot of us, we just deal with it. That's how it is. And we just channeled our frustrations and anger and repressed emotions into our eating and living habits, into our spending habits, and accounts for our state of being still in the same position, owning less than 1% of all the wealth available out there. Even though we produce $1.4 trillion a year, yet we invested in trying to spin into a society where what is it, accepted as entertainers, athletes, musicians, sambos, sellouts, dead slaves, white slaves, hospital patients, soldiers. You know what I'm saying? You gotta either in jail, you get this, or homeless. You gotta find some place for you and for us. You know what I mean? So our problems aren't financial; they're psycho-spiritual. We're the most productive people on the planet, most creative people on the planet, the fastest reproducing people on the planet. Yet the bulk of our income goes towards supporting and trying to fit into this society. And there's charts out there. I've done taking a PowerPoint presentation outlining that our spending comes directly from our mental state. So I've done ceremonies, plant medicine ceremonies where you administer different herbalists. I've been an herbalist, or labeled an herbalist. What else? Yeah. Gone on different retreats, just finding the answers as to how do I fix this? How do I fix this? Community is one of the ways. Supportive community, culturally relevant healing. Like having our own centers for healing. Trying to do yoga with Bobby and Becky, I ain't doing it. You know what I'm saying? It's too many triggers. Also being in the military, you have PTSD before you go into the military. You know what I'm saying? Just having the black experience here in the USA. So. Yeah, just thank you for inviting me here, so I'll pass it to my man on the left. You went already. No?
Nah, he ain't go yet.
You ain't go yet? Okay, good. I was all right.
My name is Clark, if you wanted to know my real name. Yeah, I have a name, I can get any job. My name is Clark, and my stage name is Zubuze. I'm an actor, comedian, event MC, host, whatever you want to call it, master of ceremony. You feel me? That's my favorite line. But when T-Boy hit me up about the mental health panel session, I was like, yeah, I'm here. Like he didn't even have to break it down to me, and just mental health is something that I never really knew about, never really heard about it when it comes to men, black men at that. I'm 26 years old. You feel me?
Ain't no way.
Listen, I'm 26 years old, and I've been through a lot for my age. You feel me? And I don't think it's about the age. Everybody has different experiences in life, but mental health is something that that I'm interested in. If this is if coming here, once a month can help bring more people or bring more awareness to it, and talking about it to other people, inviting other people, I'm down for the cause. You feel me? And when I say all this to say, because of mental health, how it affected me is because I'm always joking around. I'm always in a good mood. People know me for the happy-go-lucky guy. I walk in the room, like I change the whole atmosphere. But that doesn't mean I don't go through anything. You feel me? One person actually, I remember I was at a show. I was backstage. This one dude, he was like, I guess the cameraman, like the BTS cameraman, and he was like, he's asking me a random question. I was like, we had a comedy show. Like, what kind of question is this? He's like, how's your mental health? I was like, what is this man asking me, bro? Like, I don't even know you, bro. And you know how some men, like, we have egos. And what's up with
pride,
you, bro?
That pride.
Don't come up here all the pride. You feel me? So I was like, you know what? Let me just answer the question. Like, what is it gonna take away from me? Like, feel me? I actually get a benefit out of just having this conversation. I was like, to be honest, my mental health is fine, but it's not perfect, but it's fine. It's not like, you feel me? Because I had times where I break down. I don't want to do shows anymore. I don't want to do comedy. I don't want to do none of this because, I just felt like the support I needed from like the validation from my parents or, other people around me, I'm not getting it. So I was like, you know what? F it. I don't want to do none of this no more. And then there are times I go like, dang, I feel unmotivated to even do anything. And sometimes you're going to have that point, but it's good to talk about it. And that's one thing I learned. As much as I joke around, like I'll sit and have a serious conversation. Like I've had serious conversations right now before, and sometimes he'd be like, "Nah, that's you
don't expect certain things to come from.
Yeah, like because like literally trash comes out of my mouth like 24/7. Like, I'm just talking mess. Like I just be talking mess for no reason. Like, but that's just me. That's what makes me. But when it comes down to it, if we want to have a serious conversation, we can have a serious conversation. And that's one thing about mental health. Is like people with what I do, people don't think I can be serious. So it's like some people will say things to me and not know they're hurting my feelings. Like right, you'll say it, but like it won't affect me. You won't see that it affect me. But later on, I'm like, damn, dog, this man really tried me, dog. But when it comes to like, because I know I'm conscious about my weight, my size, and my unhealthy eating habits. And people will say like, dang, bro, you got big. That don't affect me. But it's like the people who know you, for example,
When you hear from them,
they know what habits got you to that point. So it's like they know exactly what to say to trigger you. Like my mother would say like
them Haitians have a way of breaking you down, bro.
Like some parents just have a way of saying things, and like, I told my mom like, look, she's like, I'm like, Mom, you don't know, but you hurt my feelings, like And I that's nothing. Like, I used to just never say nothing to them. Like I used to just leave, and like, I call my girl up. I'm like, baby, this shit. Like I would get so mad, and when I speak to my mom directly, I don't get as mad. I just release it. You feel me? And that's what I think mental health is. That's a huge part of mental health. Just releasing, what you have bottled inside. Just speaking to that person. You don't gotta get mad. Like that's the one thing about me. Like you rarely see me mad. Like if you do see me mad, man, somebody just grab your gun and go follow me. But yeah, like it's just releasing. Just release whatever that you have inside. Because like, when I told my mom, like I can't really speak to her like face to face. I can, but it's like it don't stick. So I was like, I'll hit her up on WhatsApp and like send her a voice note. I was like, Mom, what you said was it was kind of like out of pocket, disrespectful, and then she'll hit me back. She'll say, it's because I love you. That's why I'm like this. I'm like, I understand that. I see the love. I see the love. Island parents, Caribbean parents have a tough way of loving. You feel me? But I embrace it. But at the same time, it's like
Love me a little different.
Yeah, there's certain things they say like it'd be way out of pocket. I'm like, I'm pretty sure if I said it, like I'd be sleeping on the street for a couple nights. You feel me? But that's what mental health, a huge part of it is for me. Is just releasing. You feel me?
My name is Akeem. I'm the supervisor of the emergency department. Mental health, I never, to be honest, growing up, never believed in mental health, didn't even know what it was. Until usually growing up as an Asian family, they tend to, when you see something that could be considered mental illness, they'll probably say someone did something to that person, or they feel like this is just a magic that's going on for that person or whatever. Until I went through something, probably when I used to come here and talk to T-Boy every day 3 years ago, and I got my master's degree. I thought life was about to be great. I was getting my master's degree. I thought I was about to be making 6 figures. That's what I was thinking. And for like almost 2 years, couldn't find a job. I was working in jobs making like $10 an hour, $11 an hour. And there was days that was like, I was ready to, I was losing it in the house. Even my parents, I would go just in the house, just wouldn't even go out because it was real frustrating for me. My loans was like $80,000. I was making $10 an hour, and I went to school for all this, and I'm like, this makes no sense. I followed everything my parents told me, everything. Didn't go on the streets and do none of that, and then this was happening. So it was like messing. And I used to come here, talk to T all the time, and that's how I used to get it out, because I couldn't really talk to my parents about it, because it really wasn't, I didn't think it was gonna go anywhere. So like, that's where I was releasing it. Until recently, I finally got the job. But going through that was like, that's when I really, and when I read Charlemagne's book as well, that's when I started realizing like, I was really in a depression state at that time, and I didn't really realize it, but going through it was real tough.
So you with that?
My name is Junior. I'm 19.
You a knucklehead?
Mental health, mental illness, I say I go through it every day. You feel me? Like he said, I like to bottle stuff in. I don't like to, you feel me? I'm a private person. I don't like people knowing so it affects me. Like the slightest thing can just tick me off. And then, like he said, like if I'm mad, I like to stay happy. I hate getting mad. But if I'm mad, like he said, hey, grab a gun.
Follow me.
Follow me. Yeah, I like the whole bottle stuff thing, to be honest. And I feel like coming here could help me because I could learn from everybody. And I apologize because you did invite me and I wasn't. So I say that. I apologize.
That's real though. That's real.
Well, my name is Mickey. ENT boy, go way back. I just did I just finished a 101 sentence in the federal prison, and it's when you look around, 1,000 people on the yard, everybody, or if not just about everybody's trying to find a way to deal with their reality. You guys in there with life sentence. I was sitting next to one of my friend's father. I was 28 years old. He was in 28 years. So you got to ask yourself, how have these guys coped with this time? How do they cope? And it don't matter if you have a lot of time or a little bit of time. Everybody deal with it different. I knew a dude had 3 years. He wouldn't come out the room. He wouldn't take showers. His room would stink. Nobody would sell with him. He had 3 years. You about to go home. You had people that got life sentence. They going about it as if they got 1 day to go. So it's like, you know, you in here, man, and it's all around, and you see it. People, they smoking any drug they can get. They drinking whatever they can drink, anything that can get them high. I'm talking about they buying pills from other people, crushing up, snorting them. They all trying to deal with the reality of the time. And they eventually got to come back and realize I still have to face this time. So I went through this, man. I'm talking about guys on K2, synthetic drugs, falling out. I'm talking about knowing that this will make you fall out. It's like dope fiends. Where is that? Everybody trying to go get it. So I was on the yard where they were like walking zombies. Like, cause then I had a store, so you come to me, if you want to sell this, that, I'm buying it. You selling brand new shoes for 10 stamps, equivalent to $7. Like, it was bad. So I seen mental health like up every day, like up close and personal, and no one wants to go get help. Everybody's trying to cope with it their own way. Everybody's going to the rec yard, trying to cope with it their own way. And I've dealt with it myself, being in a depressed state, having a transition from the streets, trying to go legit. And when I was trying to go legit, like now is a prime time for a convicted felon to be able to do good. A couple of years ago, it was like if you had a record, you really couldn't find a job. Like you really couldn't find it. It was really, really hard. So, you know, I was in a depressed state, man. If I work, how are people gonna look at me, all this. So I've dealt with it, and through going to prison and actually educating myself and reading and attending classes and dealing with because they have plenty of classes that they offer for you. You know, I realized a lot of what were my triggers, a lot of things that I was going through, how I didn't get help, and how nobody really gets help because the education level for us is so poor. But that's why I always tell all of us, like it's our duty, like how you saying with your parents. They did what they could do with the knowledge that they had.
That they had, yep.
So now we have to, with the knowledge we do have, to empower the youth. How the young brother got his son with him, listening at this age, listening to this conversation and understanding. So now when he gets his age, he's gonna be on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Everything should and supposed to evolve. Like, and I feel like a lot of people don't think this is cool. Like Charlemagne did a big thing because he really showed people, like, you know, I went through it, like, you know, that's why it'd be good to see like stars actually stand up and speak out. Because, like I told somebody the other day, if Kodak Black won't listen to Master P, I know you're not gonna listen to me. You get what I'm saying? So like, when you see stars and people that go through the same thing that you go through on your level, and you're like, whoa, it's an eye opener. And you can be telling him that every day. He see somebody else, and he like, oh, I've been telling you this for the last 5 years. So, you know, I talked to T-Boy, and we had a conversation. I was like, listen, man, we got to create that space, that platform, you know, where brothers can come and speak, or we just share our stories and what we know, what we go through, whether we went through it or we know somebody went through it, and share that, you know, and grow and just create that platform. Sometimes, like my man was telling me, man, you know, so what is it like? So what people vent? I say, nah, it's a discussion. We're not coming here to complain. Nah, we come to have a discussion. So a lot of people aren't educated about mental health, period. So it's like, let's give them something to just listen to and just understand, or even just, if you could just sit in the back. You know, I mean, if we can do it every week, if we can do it once a month, whatever is good, because we're getting the information out there. And like you say, now is the time where like all these issues are coming to the forefront, and a lot of people are being educated and educating people. So it's the time. So let's not let the time waste, and you know, and go from there.
What about you? Who are you?
I'm Michael Elvis John. I'm 9 years old. I go to Norcas Elementary. 4th grade.
So what do you deal with right now that you think that affects your mental stability? How you think?
I eat too much food.
Like that.
I'm over my weight that I'm supposed to be.
Okay.
That's Steve putting that in.
When they say mental, what do you think your emotions and stuff, when it comes to your emotions or things at school, what affects you? You could say has a negative impact on your life, or negative impact on how your feelings and your emotions. Because when you're happy, it's so easy to just go about and be good and be in a good mood, give out, and be respectful. But it's when something affects you and gets you mad, and gets you upset. There you go. This whole discussion is why I brought you here, is so you can see what other people went through or what other people are going through. Or I might not have all the answers for you, but you might hear something from him, like you heard from him, and I heard you saying, "Oh yeah," like when you're like with stars. So like you're 9 years old, so there's people that you look up to in the world.
Yes.
Right. So when they start saying something, that makes you listen just a little bit better, like a little bit more, if you need somebody. So I brought you out here so you can see that and you can come to the conversation. And if you have anything you ever want to say, just say, "Hey, I can talk about it." Don't be afraid. You can say whatever you want here. You're not gonna get in trouble. You're not gonna be upset. And you just
What's
put
your name again?
your 2 cents.
What's your name?
Oh, Michael was trying.
Michael. One of the things that Michael said is really crucial that we should talk about is that so many times as black men, the only emotion that we have been taught to express is anger. And so we express everything we're going through the port of anger. And the challenge is that as we get older and we get into relationships, when conflict and challenge arise, that's the only emotion that we are able to, because the only emotion we've been allowed to or been verbalized that is okay to express. And so sometimes with Michael, it's about getting him to figure out what are the other emotions outside of anger that you're dealing with. Sometimes it's shame, sometimes it's hurt, sometimes it's rejection, but he's only channeling that through the one emotion that he has been, he's understood that he knows how to express. And so it's helping him at a young age to figure out, okay, Michael, yes, you're expressing how you're feeling about this punishment through anger, but there's another way to express it. You could say, I'm disappointed in myself. I'm disappointed in how this thing went down. I don't feel heard. I feel, I feel like, this was unfair. And learning how to express, for so many of the counseling that I do, when I encounter, especially when I encounter black men, that's the only emotion that, when you go in the prison system, that's the only emotion. These cats know how to express their mental pain, so they express it through anger. They have to inflict violence on somebody else, because that's in our community. That's the only thing that's known to be a man still. So if I express my emotions through sad or hurt or some other thing, it's like I lose my man card. And like you said, like in a hostile environment, it's not accepted to do that. So in a hostile environment, you do that, you become the prey. And so and so nobody wants to be the prey. So nobody wants to express an emotion of vulnerability. And so I'm like, I'm not going to express emotion of vulnerability, because if I'm vulnerable, I'm going to get taken advantage of. So I can't be vulnerable. So I got to express this anger. But anger is a depleting emotion. That's what we have to realize. Anger is a depleting emotion. So if you continue to express anger over and over again, it depletes you. And so you have to be replenished in another way. You see what I'm saying? And so that's one of the things that and it throws you further. So you get depressed, and then you're just angry at the system that you thought you were playing by its rules, but now it's not even giving you back what it should have given you. And so you express anger, which depletes you, which then depletes brain chemicals in your brain. So it depletes norepinephrine, depletes serotonin, depletes all cortisol. Cortisol gets elevated to stress hormone. So now you are clinically depressed because your anger has depleted all the healthy hormones in your system. And so now you are in a state that's going to be very difficult to get out, because how do you get out of a medically induced depression? Now, my holistic guys might need some ways of how to get out of that, because they realize you gotta be the whole mind, body, and soul, because now you got a mental problem that manifests itself in a physiological deficiency. So now we've got to build up those chemicals that are off in order to get you back to a good baseline. And you got to think about your mentals. Now your mentals are in a negative state, and it's hard to come out that hole. So you find yourself like on a hamster wheel of a bad mental cycle. And you just keep doing the same thing. It just keeps dragging you. Unless something comes out, a door opens or something happens, you get out of prison. Now you just keep running the same wheel over again. And that's what happens. So many people like, I don't know another wheel. So I just keep running this wheel because it's the only wheel I know. You know, I just get these dope because at least for an hour or two or a couple hours for this day, I'm numb to my pain. But when you come out the stupor, the pain is still there. It ain't going nowhere. That's why you got to deal with your mental health, because it don't go nowhere. It stick with you. So if you don't address it, it's coming to get you.
I like how you mentioned that the only emotion we've been trained to express is anger. So speaking on that, I wasn't feeling angry or anything. It's just watching him speak with his son. I got emotional. I was like, I'm about to cry, but then I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Because
I can't express that emotion.
Yeah,
in a room full of guys.
I was like, come on, everybody else crying. Why am I the only one crying?
That's not a real
You feel me? Like,
guy emotion to
and
express.
I can guarantee you, I'm not the only one that felt like this in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Just watching a father speak to his son, like that's something that it's just a beautiful thing to me. You feel me? And like watching him, it just remind me and my father. You feel me? And my father tried to be that father that was always there, always trying to give me advice. Why? Because his father was absent in his life. And he's like, he's not going to continue that. And I want to do the same thing, you feel me, with my child, my children. Because, you know, my father's so cool to the point where the day I lost my virginity, I was like, yo, Dad, guess what? Guess what I just did? Like, you know, they're not every father you can go up to and speak like that, you feel me? And I'm just blessed to have that in my life. And just seeing them too, it just remind me and my father, you know, hopefully I can get him to when we sit down one day, because he's not a let me express myself type of person. Like he'll
How was he different? Because that's not a typical Haitian guy.
That's not.
I ain't gonna lie to you. So that's different.
He's when it comes to emotion, he'll bottle it up. Like he
still bottles it up.
Yeah, he still bottles it up.
How was he able to open up with you like that?
Yeah, he's able to open up with me. You know, he try to tell. It's not even those times where something happens, he'll do it. Like it'll just be random. Like we cleaning and this man just start talking about it. Right? Like it's just random.
That's a good point, because you know what, when in some of the studies I've done in dealing with black male mental illness or black mental illness in general, one of the best things to do is, so it's hard for people to just sit down and talk for black men. But what they do well is that they talk when they're doing something. So that's why the barbershop is so crucial, because just you captivated for 20, 30 minutes in a chair. And so rather than using it as an environment, because I grew up in barbershop off 19th Street. I just talking foolishness half the time, you know what I'm saying? But if you can create an environment in your shop right now, I think like you have, where while you're doing the activity, you're talking about stuff that actually matter. And so your dad was taking advantage of those times when you weren't sitting face to face, but y'all plastering the wall, y'all painting something, y'all doing some work. And he's like, let me talk to you about this, this, and this. You know, that's found to be a lot more effective with, you know, with black men in getting mental health, is not making it so formal. Like you come to see me, you come in, I got an office, you got to sit down, you know, you got a couch, I feel like, I got a couch, you know, you feel like, but so many people when they come to see me, they like, this is the principal's office, like, God, you know, the dude in the, you know, and I'm usually not in the suit, I'm, you know, but, you know, I had a meeting today, but, you know, but they look at this dude, he's like, man, golly, we gotta go come talk to this fella, man, I feel like I'm in trouble, you know what I'm saying, like back in school, and so it creates barriers. And these kinds of environments are a lot better, because probably somebody would pitch in on social media and be like, I'll listen to these fellas because, you know, they just, they just talking. You know what I'm saying? It ain't like I'm in an environment, you know. But I'll tell you one thing, you know, by the time you're 25, you need some therapy. I don't care who you are. If you grow up in a black community, if you grow up Chi-Town, yeah, that's Southside ain't no easy place to live, you know what I'm saying? You know, Massachusetts, some part of Boston, it's rough.
Just outside of Boston.
It's rough, it's some rough hoods, man, out there, man. And you know, so
especially in Lawrence.
Yeah, you got some.
I got pulled over in Lawrence. They thought I was selling drugs.
Lord have mercy. They just see you a black dude, man. You got to be selling drugs, man.
Just drive it through. Just going to a comic shop. Relax.
I think one of the things that helped me get a grasp on my mental health growing up early, you know, growing up as a black man, you know, growing up rough, growing up, you know, not poor but poor. You know what I'm saying? Like you
Yeah.
had everything, but you didn't realize what
Yeah,
everybody was going through. And when you grow up, you know, I grew up in a way where I didn't have role models, but I just had a lot of people that I didn't want to be like. So as I grew up, I just made sure I didn't become a product of my environment. I made sure I did not emulate the same toxic behaviors that I witnessed. So I grew up, I said, you know what, I don't want to be that. And that's what really drove me, that's what really drives me. So I didn't have a father in my life to teach me how to be a man or what to do. So this is my stepson, by the way. His father, and obviously his father, his dad, his relationship with his dad and my relationship with his dad has been so crucial into raising him. And it's just a different environment because, like, you know, a lot of people, my wife, his mom, they have a great co-parenting relationship. I've never seen that ever in my life, where you have two parents that can actually co-parent, get along.
Even when they're not together.
It's to the point where he can come over and he can say, hey, I'm just going to chill with Elvis at the house, and it's fine. To the point where if he's missing something, if we're having dinner, you can come eat with us.
That's big security on your part too. So
Yeah.
I got to tip my hat to you
You
as
got
well.
to. Just because I realized if I have beef with this man, what does that teach Elvis when he grows up?
Or if you have some security issues where you're like, I don't want another man in my house.
And we had that conversation. He told me, he said,
That'd
look,
be
there's no egos
problematic.
here because it's to raise Elvis, and that right there is like,
That's
I've never
priority.
seen that. Exactly. Elvis is the priority. So we do have a good relationship.
That's good stuff, man.
You special though.
No, but I give it to y'all to lower the testosterone level, put the
Exactly.
egos aside, to make sure this kid has a better shot at being raised well and effectively by two black men.
Now you got two brains to
Yeah.
go at it.
You can't
And,
beat that.
you know, me and his father are pretty much on the same page on everything with raising Elvis and his mother.
I couldn't tell if he wasn't your biological kid when you came in because, you know, there was nothing to tell me that this was not your child, that you had, you know.
And even from a young age, you know, his mom and his dad, they told him, like, he knows, like, hey, Steven, you better not ever cheat on my mom, I'm coming for your neck. Like, he knows, at 8 years old, he knows they don't cheat on my mom. Or he knows that, hey, I'm going to be his stepdad now. He's not like, you know, the other kids like, oh, mom, when are you going to get back together with dad? He already knew that from a young age, just because what they taught him. So he's very, very mature in that mindset.
That's good.
But what I say that to say, growing up, a lot of people they just say, you know what, that's what was done to me, so now I'm gonna do it. I just see that's what was done to me, so I'm not gonna do it. So when I talk to him, I try to talk to him way differently than I was ever spoken to. When I bring him here,
I talk too much.
it's okay.
But you're in the minority. I do want to stress, though, you are in the minority of people who encounter a negative situation, and by virtue of having a very strong will, I'm sure the Army has helped, the military has helped a lot in developing your discipline ability, but I can tell you that the majority of people do not change behaviors. They repeat the behaviors that they see.
Like, it's like, prime example, anybody that knows me, they would have told you, if you would have asked them what I would have been doing, like, I always used to say, I was a perfect person to date somebody's daughter in high school. Like, if you had a little young man to come, I played all sports, basketball, football, track. I had 3-point-something GPA. I was throwing parties at 16, making if you was in my age group, you was going to my parties. If you older than me, your children was going to my parties. So like I understand what he's saying, but this is really how it is. And I was supposed to graduate, but no, go to college. I graduated, but I stayed down here instead of going off because it was the lack of guidance. But up until high school, I stayed away. It's around me because it's the family, friends, it's everywhere. It's in the neighborhood. It was around, but I stayed away from it. But graduating and not having the proper guidance, that's why it's so important for us. Even if you find somebody, man, that needs some kind of mentor, you send them the right place, or you just give them that guidance, that talk. Like, I was right there. It's like, so what you gonna do? I could have went to college. I had a scholarship. I stayed down here, saying that, I need to help my mom. My mom been helping me and my brother for the longest. You know what I'm saying? So I stayed down here, and I got in trouble, and I didn't know how to get out of that cycle. And when I went to college, I realized, like, I mean, when I started getting into trouble, I realized like, you know what? I was following the footsteps of my brother and my cousin and like they had to go. I put the plates in my mouth. They want to get a permit. They had the dreads. I put the dreads in my head. So it was never me acting on my own. I was following and wanted to emulate what I seen. I just wasn't ready to go fully out there. And then I got caught up, and it was like there was no positive role model to help me steer out of that lane, and that's where most people are at. That's why they need to see, and that's why they need, like I was at a gentleman's brunch. It was a lawyer like, look, man, I wear my hair like that, got the little nappy fro, because I want the judge and the jury to see I look like the person I'm defending. So you can't stereotype him because I look like him. I seen another teacher. He like, man, I'm marked up like Winwood. You get what I'm saying? So it's so important. It's so important for us to break the stereotypes, but you don't even see black therapists. You don't even see, it's certain professions you don't see. So and that's what these younger generation, especially now, they're looking at like what it looked like. Okay, you're a therapist, but what you know?
I was telling him the other day, and Rodnell's like, when we was growing up, what do we have? The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, we had the Huxtables, we had, what are they? Got lawyers, doctors, black lawyers, black doctors, black things. Now you grow up in TVs, what do they have for the young?
Love and hip hop, reality shows.
Exactly.
Non-existent.
Or their parents are not there at all.
Not even in there.
So when you say that, it's like, he doesn't know, only thing he knows to grow up and want to be, I'm not taking anything, there's nothing wrong with it, only thing, to be an athlete, to be a YouTube star, to be this, to be that. He doesn't know that there's other options, to be a real estate mogul, to
Fortnite player.
Correct.
I didn't know what to do. That was me. I didn't know what to do. Like,
all right,
never. You want to be a firefighter, I know.
I didn't know what to do. So
Exactly.
I'm a convicted felon now, and I'm figuring out, like, damn, if I didn't have a record, I could do so much stuff. Like I could just be making like nice money, like just working for the city. Yeah.
When you're a convicted felon,
yeah.
You want to open your own shingle because nobody can stop you.
Yeah. So and that's what I did. Like I educated myself, and now I got my own business. Yeah. Can't nobody tell me anything.
The best thing for a convicted felon.
Yeah. Can't nobody tell me
open
anything.
Your own
but
business because nobody can stop when you.
They can't control that grind.
And they can't take your skills.
They can't take.
When you have skills, can't take it away from you.
I agree. But you're right. Right now, best time for a convicted felon to get a job.
Yeah.
In the history of last maybe 40 years.
Listen, I got out in February. I was turning down. Like, nah, I don't want to work there.
Wow.
Like, nah, I don't want
That's
to
real.
Like, so.
And the list of major companies who are hiring people who've been in prison, it's impressive. I mean, it's some major companies. You know, so there's an opportunity now.
Like when you was talking about how you were living out what your brothers were doing, that gave me a question for open discussion, which I think could give some structure to certain things we can discuss. I wanted everyone to go back to a time between 1 and 7 because they say that most of your life is determined between 1 and 7. Literally, it's like an open slate program, and whatever program that you have from that age, you continuously live out. So whatever your parents have taught you, your principles, whatever you subconsciously linked as success or as like to get attention, that becomes your story. So I say a lot of times, what are you doing now that's a replica of 1 to 7? So I wanted to go around the room and just, think about something you do now that you did as a youth, and we could like see where we're all at. You know what I mean? So if we could have that thought, I guess I'll jumpstart it myself. I was separated from my mom when I was 9, right? I came here to the U.S. So I separated from my mother. She was like my friend, like my best friend, right? Because I was a young kid, 9 years old. So my mom was like, this is my mom's. So when I moved here, I lived with my stepmom and my dad, and the energy is negative. Just like you're saying, I'm like, my dad and my mom say some stuff to me. I'm like, really? You gonna say that? But I'm mentally, I could surpass it now because I know what they're doing, but it still affects me subconsciously. So when I find myself not calling my parents, for instance, I'm like, oh, detachment period. And now my mom came like when I was 18, she came to the U.S. and I was like detachment period. Now I'm replicating lack of communication and being alone and not wanting to talk to my parents because it's negative, or like my disassociation with my stepmom, and I'm replicating that in my other relationships. You know what I mean? So now I'm like, what if I fix my relationship with my mom? You know what I mean? What if I'm able to communicate better? How can that help me propel in my other relationships? So I think that was something from 1 to 7, and philosophy, I guess, after 9, that I had to click for me. So I just wanted to see if anybody had some of these things for them between 1 to 7.
But for me, so you want us to, so just clarify, you, from 1 to 7, you want us to touch base on something that we're doing now opposed to what we were doing?
So think of something that's happening in your life now and link it back. And if you can't do it now, do it when you get home. Think about like what are some recurrent problems and how that correlates with what you were doing or what you acquired from 1 to 7. It could be one experience.
Oh, well, I mean, for me, hopefully I answered this right, but for me, it was on my 8th birthday. Alex knows this. I mean, if you know me, you know that when I was younger, I got hit by a police car, broke both my legs, and you know, I was told I'll never walk again. Told my legs would get amputated and the whole 9 or whatnot. But you know, being a young, energetic, athletic kid, and for something like that to get taken away from you in the drop of a dime, bro. For me, I guess how I'm perceiving what you're asking us, and how it kind of coincides with everything with the mental health. You know, being a young kid in a hospital bed, knowing that all your friends are out having fun, running around, doing their thing, and you don't even know if you're gonna be able to get up and walk the next day. That time frame, going through everything that I had to go through to learn how to walk again, to go from crutches to a walker, from a wheelchair to walking, then running, then, but just mentally, the stuff that went on in my mind as a young kid, I didn't have somebody to talk to. I couldn't talk to my parents about how I was feeling. They were still trying to figure out what was going on, and so it's cliche for them to go to a Bible scripture and to give you a Bible scripture that they think is going to give you some type of, give you something to hold on to. And I went years, and not even realizing that I had mental health issues with when I had my accident. And it, like I said, it took me to lose my kids for me to realize that, okay, there's some underlying issues that I have, and I thought it was just my kids that I lost that made me realize, like, dang, I have something's wrong with me, and I need to seek help. But sitting down with Alex, it all stemmed from, the root of a lot of the issues stemmed from when I got in my accident, and I didn't even know. And a part of me knew it. A part of me was depressed and just felt some type of way that, you know, my life could have been different. I could have been an athlete. I could have did this. I could have did that. I could have been taller. I could have been, you know, you change one thing, you change everything. So for me, me having to go through that at such a young age, to realize that I went all these years dealing with mental health, and for a whole nother situation for me to realize that particular situation is what put me in a deeper hole after I lost my kids. And that's what made me realize that, okay, this mental health thing is real. Because if I could be 7 years old, 8 years old, dealing with something that was never touched on, and I'm a grown man now, I'm 30, and I'm still dealing with this stuff that's never been touched. And there's been times where I just spaz out, and I'll get in fight. I done got in fights. I done cuss people out. I done just been out of character. And the root of those issues was from when I was 8 years old. And I hope I answered that right. But for me, that's how I kind of
When I was young, that's because we've been shown conditional love. So many of us from Afro-Caribbean environments, the only love that our parents know how to give is one based on conditions. That means that if you do this, you get loved. You do that, you receive this. You do this, you receive that. It comes back to the slave. This is a slave mentality of
Same
thinking.
thing.
So
Same thing in
it is
Africa.
punishment and reward.
Same thing
And
in
if you
Africa.
operate within a system, it's amazing how we as black people still operate from a slave mentality. It has really affected us. And boy, whether we will acknowledge that or not, slavery has done a number on our mental psyche. And so they have been taught to love us based on conditions. When you're taught to love based on conditions, you end up with a lot of levels of approval addictions. Yeah? You become an approval addict. So you seek approval from people, and especially those people closest to you still want their approval, and they've never been able to really get it. And so that's interesting I find with so many of the black parents, they almost never are able to give the approval that you're seeking. You see what I'm saying?
Never enough.
That would set you free. They just never capable of doing that. And so
They never got it.
they never got it. They don't know what that looks like. They don't know how like you, they don't know how to model it, or they're not intentional like you are to say, you know what, I don't want that for my kids and my family. So let me kind of figure out how do I not do what they did to me. And but that takes a tremendous amount of intentionality. Most of us operate by, the flow of what we're experiencing, or we don't get the intervention. We don't know that we can go to psychological counseling and work through that. You see what I'm saying? With your situation, couple things. When you have a good relationship with your mother, it helps you to have good friendships and relationships with others at an early age. When you don't, it affects your ability to generate friendships in the long haul. When you have a good relationship with your father, your self-esteem is strong. You don't have a good relationship with your father, your self-esteem is broken. You're always trying to fit in. You want to join a fraternity. You want to follow other people. You're looking for that validation that you never got from the man who's Superman in your life. And if you never got that, you're always looking for it somewhere else. Whether in brothers, other fellows from the hood, people around. I'm looking for that. So those two things are crucial. Good relationship with your mom qualifies to good relationships in your life. Bad relationship with your mom, you find yourself finding it difficult to maintain healthy relationships outside of that.
It's true.
It's incredible, that psychology behind
I'm
it.
just gonna quick 15
Sure.
second. What you just said really clicked for me, because what I did, I didn't have a relationship with my dad at all. I didn't have a relationship with my mom, and my stepmom was just on me every day.
Yeah.
So I said I'm gonna have a relationship with myself. So I became a loner.
Yes.
So
It's exactly
I played as many
psychologically what it
sports
does
as
for
I
you.
can be. I was on the court all night.
Yeah.
So I became this hard worker. My ambition became my relationships.
Yes, yes.
So now I'm at an age where I'm like so ambitious, and I'm like,
But
I'm
I
a
need-
great person to
but
be
I need
around, but I
community.
got no like actual community. I'm like, I know so many people, and I'm like, how do I know so many people, but I'm not connecting with them? And I
You know
want
them,
to.
but you don't know
I'm trying
them.
to build something. I'm trying to like bring something to the world.
You don't
but then it's
have
like,
that with your
It's
mom,
like that.
and that's what you said. By the time so psychologists determine what camp you believe in.
Mhm.
By 7, your personality is set, or by 12. So with that, but by 12 for sure, you ain't changing off that baseline very much. That's why when I do counseling, I give a personality test. Just had a couple in my office last night. Gave a personality test. They're like, how in the world? They were like, did you put a camera in my house? How do you know, based on these questions, my personality and how I
That they
react
real.
to situations?
That's
And they were just
real.
shocked. They was like, get the heck out of here. How do you know that? And so, yes, because that is a baseline for people. You see what I'm saying? And so, abandonment, when he comes back, I'm sure, so when your mother leaves you at a young age like that, you experience what they call abandonment. And so it teaches you to disconnect from people because you get hurt if you
Easy
connect
for
with
you.
people.
Yeah.
So it gets easier for him to disconnect with people. So he's easy to write people off and just.
And I'll just leave it at that one. But the first thing I always start with every day with an intention. That's my first thing. What's my intention?
What's your intention?
What's my intention? What's my intention today? Like, some days I don't have an intention. Like last month, I didn't write at all because I was like, damn, I was in a down state. But it's November again. I'm seeing a light. But I realized like it's gonna take a couple of years from the effects of like what I went through in those periods to kind of diminish. You know what I mean? Because the holidays for me was lonely. It was me sleeping in my car, no friends. It's like my friends left me when I lost everything. My family didn't want to talk to me because I left home. And I was like, I'm not coming back home. I'm not coming back home till my dreams become a reality. Like, I'm never coming back home. And then I'm like, so during the time I was alone. So I was like, man, I'm lonely. So whenever that time hits, for some reason I think, man, I'm lonely. So I know I'm just growing through that. So now I treasure it. And because I treasure it, it's helping me grow because of it.
Yeah, I do that too. And what's good about that, especially when you put the dates, if you like going through something and you can flip back last year, like, let me see what I was going through. And it's like, sometimes we forget, and it's like, I don't have to repeat that same mistake. You know what I'm saying? I could learn from that and just, shift it and break that cycle. Because everything is repeating itself, like you said. So yeah, that's good.
The thing I try to learn about myself, is I gotta stay true to me, and I can't let a situation or a person or individual trick me out of my character or dictate how I'm gonna react to the situation. So what I'd like to do is, like, even if somebody does me wrong, like, and they ask me for a favor, I have to take myself outside my body and look at the situation. Like, how would I react to the situation if he never did that? Would the answer still be yes, or would it be no? And I never ever let that person change the way I'm going to react.
Or that situation that you went through with that.
Because then what that does is now they look at me and say, like, they ask me for $100. I know I would never give somebody $100. They ask for, I'm not gonna give it to you. But if they ask me something within, like, you give me a ride down the street. Yeah, but the other day I asked you for a ride, you ain't give me a ride, so I'm not gonna give it. But I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'll give you a ride. Even if we got beef a little bit. And then she said, man, I did him wrong. You still did me a favor. So now I changed his narrative on. But I'm not doing it to be real with you. I'm doing it because I got to stay real to me. A lot of times people, especially if everybody want to be real, they so real with everybody else, but they're not real with themselves. So I realized I can be fake with all of y'all, but as long as I'm true to me, I know I'm not being fake because I'm being real to me first. So I know that helps me a lot in a lot of my situations where I don't hold grudges anymore. That allows me to not hold grudges against anybody or harbor any ill feelings or ill thoughts. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean I don't. It doesn't mean I don't remember what you did. I remember, and I probably forgave you already. But you're not gonna get one over. I'm not gonna take advantage of me, and I'm not gonna let you take advantage of me.
I don't know if I'm getting this right, but if someone's trying to, like, say you have beef with someone, you don't take your anger out on them. Like, you don't get mad at them because they didn't do something for you. Be calm and do something for them so that can change their personality, like what you just said. Their personality, and then they can do something for you, and you can do it for them.
And now you can squash whatever beef y'all had. It's like, you know what? Why am I even bad at you?
And it's
And it's gone.
Can we go with that question, that thing you started? One thing I learned about myself. Can we do that, everybody?
Oh yeah.
One thing you learned.
I know I gotta run though.
Yeah, this could be the last thing.
Well, yeah, this could be the last thing, and then, so what did,
One thing I learned, I gotta be true to me.
that's what you,
Yeah.
I got
One thing I learned about myself is I gotta protect the energy I bring around me, the people I bring around me.
one thing I learned is that I need to keep my angerment inside of me, not just take it out on anybody else.
Well, I would say, like, express it in a way where it's not at the end of the spectrum. Think of a line, right?
Okay.
There's extreme, there's very not extreme. If you're not extreme, then you're not sharing. Volume is all the way down, nobody knows what's going on. If the volume is all the way up, it's too loud, you're killing eardrums. So people can't even listen to you at this point because you're stirring them up. So what you do is you express not your anger, but your emotions through expression. That's talking and communication. So the volume is at 50-50, you're listening to music and you're bumping, and now it's nice, it's nicer, it's communication. You know what I mean? Rather than holding it in, it's not holding it in, it's expressing it. Sometimes you may have to stop, press pause, and input.
alright, so you said, one thing I learned, is that what you guys learned?
Yes, sir.
One thing I learned, I have to verbalize how I feel, clearly, because I know there's times that I'll verbalize myself. I can use me and my wife for example. If I don't, you have to mean what you say and say what you mean. Because I can say something to her, and I didn't mean it like that, but the way I said it took it totally out of context. So, but I take that, you know, when I'm talking to the barbers, I have to be clear in certain things that I'm saying. When I'm talking to clients, I have to be clear. So for me, that's what I can say. I just have to be detailed in how I verbalize certain things.
Something I learned about myself. I realized that I sometimes procrastinate if I'm trying to avoid conflict. So sometimes I'll procrastinate because I don't want to make that phone call. I don't want to have that negative conversation. So I'll procrastinate. I'll put it off. It don't help. It don't help nothing. So I've learned. Listen, don't. It's gonna be ugly no matter how you go do it. You gotta go
Put
ahead.
off for tomorrow.
Yeah, you just gotta go ahead and do it. So I've learned that about myself. Don't procrastinate just because it's an uncomfortable conversation. You're gonna have to have it anyway. Just go ahead and have it.
That's right. I needed that too. But
One thing I learned about myself is to practice is that I'm not compassionate towards myself. I have so much high standards. It's like I'm trying to be like an example of everything. So I run into this like inferiority complex. I'm trying to be great. I'm trying to like live up to what so I have to just learn how to be self-compassionate as much as I can to understand that I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I'm still becoming. So that's the
Yes, one thing I have been learning is, of course, setting boundaries, self-advocacy. Of course, I'm still on anger's a gift is more productive than depression. It's learning how to channel anger into work, into healing and productivity, and it's frustration at my own ignorance. So, to that.
I would say the same for me as far as the boundaries. I didn't know, that I didn't have healthy boundaries with certain people, and I came back from, like the brother was saying, seeking approval from my parents, and it was these people that had that same energy, like my parents, attracting women that I wasn't necessarily interested in, but they were familiar. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh wait, I don't really want to be with a woman like you, but you're familiar. You remind me of my parents. So I was, repeating this, this cycle and playing this thing out. So definitely, the healthy boundaries and, sticking up for myself. And not everything is my responsibility. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that was huge for me.
What I learned is mostly what you said in regards to the difficult conversations, because now that I'm a supervisor of the whole hospital, I have that difficult conversations with a lot of people under me. And growing up, it's hard for me to have those conversations because I really don't like giving people write-ups. I don't like doing any of those things, because it makes me kind of stutter, and I feel like I get kind of nervous in regards to that conversation. So I've tried to write it down what I'm going to say, to kind of repeat it over, not to kind of sound like a robot almost, but just to get it in my mind and get myself out of my mind, because I feel like it's me thinking too much about the situation. When I go in there, I'm not as confident. So that's what I try.
Me, I think I learned about myself is I gotta accept it. Like, accept people me like, okay, people know me, but I don't open up.
You don't let too many people in.
Yeah, like you don't know me, but you know me. So accept.
You got more acquaintances than friends.
Yeah, like my pride too loud. My pride.
I think that's listen, I thank you guys all for coming, man.
My pleasure.
Me and Mick will be coordinating on the next set, but I think this was a great, it's strength in numbers. We have to have a lot of people.
It depends on what you guys can do.